And there we go. And hopefully everything is going to be smooth here.
Yeah, hello. Hi.
All right. Hello, good
Hello,
people.
KK. Hi, KK. Thank you so much, dearest KK. We're hoping other people will show up and chat. We can only see just the two of us. I think we're a couple minutes early. So that's good. I really wanted to start off by singing The Good Ship Lollipop, but then I got tired after dinner. Mike made the best dinner. Spaghetti. It was so good. I don't see any more. KK, can you hear us? If you could just give us a confirmation if you could hear us.
Well, it shows 16 messages.
Let's see.
I'm looking over here. I don't see
Is this? Oh, okay. So that's. Oh, here. Hey, Emperor X TV and Day of the Cow. I see people. I'm so excited. You know, like if you're on a boat and you're in the ocean and you're lost and you just don't see anybody, and then all of a sudden you see somebody, and you know how you feel. That's how we feel when we see you guys. It's great. It's great. Hello. Thank you so much for coming in. We've got some really interesting stuff going on tonight, so hopefully you will find it interesting too. Catch many. Good to see you.
Yeah, this is a touchy one, so I would venture to guess that we might have some challenges as far as visibility. If they could see what we have lined up to talk about, absolutely would expect it. Thank you guys for coming. Thank you, as always, for all your support. Thank you, KK. We couldn't do it without all you guys.
Indeed. It seems like there's kind of a delay. So I just sent a sound check in there, and I see my sound check, but I don't see it up on the computer. So it really seems like there's something wonky going on with people. It seems like there's some blocking going on. I'm not exactly sure what's going on. I'm writing in chat, but it's not showing up. Okay, Robbie. Yeah, there's a lot of people being blocked. If you guys can hear me, can you give us a sound check? I mean, this just feels really weird. It feels like we're being blocked here pretty bad. Can anyone hear us okay? So I wrote sound check and nothing's happening. Here, I don't know what's going on.
Yeah, if you're able to just put a little comment there and let us know that you can hear us. I do see some hearts, so that's a good thing. Awesome. It just feels really weird, you know.
Really weird.
Yeah, it's to be expected. There's Robbie. Oh, Rosalie Eduardo, good to see you.
KK said she can hear us.
Awesome. Okay.
Oh, I see you, Robbie.
Yep. Okay, guys. Okay, Kirk Frisella says sounds good. All right, there is a lot going on in this world. This I just happened upon. Look, this is weird. Born and bred Floridian, I've never seen a fire weather warning. And this person saying these people are next level monsters. Oh, the world is waking up. You can't stop it now. Fire weather warning has been issued for Palm Beach, Florida until 7 p.m. on 2/23. Interesting. And people are watching the radar and looking at strange signals out there and making note. Again, now you get a fire weather warning. The winds are ridiculous. Weather modification ongoing. You know, again, they can try to give us little wikis and stuff. But people are awake now. You know, here's another person. The last 3 days, Southwest Louisiana experienced a gamut of artificial weather. Saturday, warm and super humid with a fake fog. Sunday, all day spray. Windy with humid. humidity very suppressed, cold air drawn down. Yeah, it's just so beyond obvious. And they're not slowing down. They're kind of doubling down. Here we go. We have a red flag warning over in San Diego County, too, all the way over on the other side. It's going to be, I don't know. We got to dodge one thing or another, whether it's fires or amplified storms or all sorts of chaos. It's one thing or another.
I don't know if you guys are feeling it, but the energy really feels very, very strange. The energy out there doesn't feel normal at all. It seems like everyone is off, and I know that the alignments, the planetary alignments have some to do with it, but this feels almost environmental, like everyone's going through a big detox, and I keep hearing it from people over and over and over again that the energies they're not right.
No, it's one of the things we've been putting out the intention for is humanity waking up. Humanity waking up, though, opens up the door to a lot more, let's say, rather unusual timelines. Because, again, the ultimate deep state is not who most people think it probably is. No, not at all. Just wild what we are witnessing. Anything really could happen. And here you go. The Cuban Coast Guard kills 4 gunmen on U.S. flagged speedboat. Havana said the armed aggressors opened fire on Cuban personnel during an identification check. Were these drug runners? Were they drug runners from the U.S.? Were they drug runners maybe from Cuba or somewhere else? And, they had a boat that was flagged from Florida, but that doesn't mean necessarily that the people were from Florida, just that's where they got the boat from, which, again, Florida is only like 90 miles away from Cuba. So a group of armed men aboard a U.S. registered speedboat reportedly opened fire on Cuban border guard forces in the island's territorial waters, escalating the already strained relations between Havana and Washington. According to Cuba's Interior Ministry, the incident occurred on Wednesday near the northern coast of Villa Clara province, when Cuban Coast Guard units intercepted a Florida-registered speedboat operating roughly 1 nautical mile from shore. The vessel reportedly entered Cuban waters illegally, was approaching for identification before gunfire broke out. Cuban authorities said individuals aboard the speedboat opened fire first, wounding the commander of a Cuban patrol vessel. Border guards returned fire, killing 4 people and injuring 6 others, who were later evacuated for medical treatment. So, this right here is what that statement is. The identities and nationalities of those on board have not yet been confirmed, and Cuban officials said investigations underway to determine the vessel's purpose and motives for approaching the island's coastline. Havana reiterated that defending territorial waters remains a fundamental pillar of national sovereignty following the incident. U.S. officials have yet to issue a detailed public comment. Florida Representative Carlos Gimenez, a Cuban-American former mayor of Miami, has demanded an urgent investigation into what he called a massacre to determine whether any of the victims were U.S. citizens. Florida Attorney General James Uthmeier has ordered a probe into the incident. The clash comes amid heightened geopolitical tensions between Washington and Havana, driven by U.S. President Donald Trump's ongoing oil embargo, which has deepened Cuba's economic and humanitarian crisis. As we said, they right now they can't refuel planes. It's a very, very bad situation in Cuba, and the poor Cuban people have been going through this for a very, very long time. It's really very sad. Again, the average people are the ones that suffer when you have all this political fiasco going on. So, it even sparked, as you see here, invasion fears. I guess people were thinking, gosh, is this the U.S. invading Cuba? Is this, a new Spanish-American War? I actually had ancestor that took part in that long ways back. Crazy. So, looking forward to seeing what they find here, whether they say this was drug runners or something totally different. We'll have to see. There's a lot of tension out there. It's not just Cuba, obviously. Iran as well, and many, many other areas.
I know we're covering some very, very, very touchy stuff, so it doesn't surprise me that we can't see everyone in chat and everyone. It's just really off. I want you guys to know if you're saying anything and we're not getting back to you, we probably can't see you because I put a comment in on my phone and I don't see it comments on the computer, and vice versa. So it feels very, very strange. So if you're trying to get our attention, I'm sorry if we don't say hi, but we can't see you maybe.
But we can see quite a few comments. Jenny Pace with the last one. Good to see you, Jenny. Annie Lou Who, great to see you as well. Rosemary's in the house. Great to have you guys here. So, yeah, this is definitely something to keep an eye out on. Remember, again, the U.S., I don't even know what the count of boats is. It's somewhere in the 20s, 30s. The number of boats the U.S. has shot at or sank in regards to the war on drugs, illegal drug smuggling, or at least, again, that's the official statement. We saw this type of thing going on off the Venezuelan coast. Is this something totally different? Is it just nerves? It could be, again, just kind of nerves in some ways. But, we'll find out and we'll let you guys know when we do. Or maybe you guys will let us know as that is the case often too, as we have so many wonderful people that are always texting and emailing saying, did you see this? Did you see that? So, again, to recap, the boat was registered in Florida. And, definitely casualties. Let me see if there's anything new that came out since we went live on this subject. Yeah, it's come out into the Cuban mainstream news. But no, not new as of right now, guys. So you have J.D. Vance says Iran better make a deal tomorrow during negotiations or FAFO could play out. Yes, could be a strike. The Polish psychic has said Trump does not really want to do this strike. He is being pressured by, let's say, the shadow government to do the strike and to start WW3. There's a lot of attention that's been given to that E-man list and everything on it. And of course, they would want a distraction because it's getting hot out there. It's getting very uncomfortable for anybody mentioned in the E-man files.
This is such a sad subject because so many people are affected. Our focus right now is on those who were mentioned in the e-files, as we should focus on them. We really, really should. But I just do not want to lose sight of the victims. They are going through so much right now. It's like their families too. So they are unseen, but they feel seen, if that makes any sense. If you've ever gone through anything like this, like they're not seen, but whenever it's talked about, they feel seen. So it's, I always want to keep that in mind and be respectful for them too. But it's important we cover this part because, I know there's things in the works. There are, and things have been done. But I guess I'm one of those people, I'm not really happy and content until I see something much, much more significant, something tangible.
No, because what you're looking at is a building, literally, it's a building anger, angst, and, people are pushed to the breaking point. maybe that's part of the whole thing, just pushing people to the breaking point. So we'll see what happens here. Again, Iran can't have a nuclear weapon. The supreme leader should understand it. Again, there's many countries out there that do have nuclear weapons. Pakistan, for one, does. Israel does. Absolutely. Israel also has something that's called the Samson option, which means if it was going to be facing the end of its existence, they would use them all out. So Jenny is the last one I see.
The last comment we've had.
If anybody could just leave a comment so we know that it's still working. Just give us a little smiley or a little thumbs up so we know that we're still streaming to you guys, because it feels like we've been interfered with. There we go. Martine 665. Yeah, random violence and murders are happening everywhere. People are snapping in the worst way. I do feel, Martine, it's going to keep going. And what will the reaction be if they actually do start a WW3? What will you see? I mean, I think that could push people, like off the deep edge, realizing there's an exchange between us and Russia or us and China. I do hope that doesn't come to pass. I do think, and we did get some information that absolutely there are factions within the U.S. and in Russia that are working to avoid that. They're truly working to avoid that because they don't want that coming about. But the same entities that brought the Ukrainian war to pass are trying to start the Third World War. And yet, it's not the majority, it's a minority. It's a minority that, again, literally serve demons and literally in many cases are demonic. It's just the reality, and people are starting to understand that. This is not just egocentrical, arrogant, selfish people. It's even worse than that. It's way worse than that. It's again people that are causing these issues that there's only that one word to describe them. They're absolutely demonic.
They're pretty bad. And Robbie just texted me. He said he's trying to leave messages in chat and we can't see him. So I don't know what's going on with Robbie. I can only imagine maybe other people are too. So sorry about that, you guys. We're doing our best, but demonic, it's what we're dealing with right now. And it's something that a lot of people are having some trouble coping with, because it just doesn't seem like evil can exist on that level, but it does. And sometimes that takes a minute for the human psyche to allow that to sink in. And sometimes there's higher self holding it back, saying, no, there's got to be something wrong here. There's got to be misinformation. Sometimes somebody's higher self might step in the way and not allow someone to acknowledge the type of evil that is going on, but it is there. And I think that could be some of the snapping that's going on. People just can't handle it. It's building up inside of them. They're not processing, but the energy is getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and then boom, and they might not even really understand why they're snapping.
So you have this statement here, Mark Christopher Lee. I was the first to reveal months ago that President Trump had already prepared a historic UFO disclosure speech for July 8th, 2026. July 8th. Wow. So, about 5 months, basically from now, less than that. Now my Washington insider source has given me a major update. There's serious high-level pushback inside the Pentagon and parts of the Trump administration from groups who believe the UFO phenomenon has a satanic, demonic origin and are determined to stop full disclosure at all costs. This is exactly the same fear expressed decades ago by Britain's former Chief of Defense Staff, Admiral Lord Hill Norton, who warned in the 1997 UF Concern report that parts of the phenomenon were demonic in nature. My source says these factions are working hard to limit what gets released, which is why the July 8th speech may only cover conventional sightings in Roswell, while the deeper, more disturbing, interdimensional truth stays hidden for now. Calling on Prime Minister Keir Starmer to immediately order the release of all British UFO files, especially the Rendlesham Forest incident on U.S. NATO bases in the U.K. We cannot allow the same suppression to continue here. The U.K. must match America's momentum and hold serious parliamentary hearings. My source is still coming forward publicly at the formal press conference on May 1st, 2026 in Washington, D.C. The truth is fighting to get out. The resistance proves how close we are. Stay strong. Stars are aligning. And when you look at David Icke's response to that, he says, of course the phenomenon is demonic. I've been exposing that for 30 years. We're living in a fake simulated reality that non-humans have created to hijack human perception and self-identity. But this disclosure misdirection is a psyop. You think those who shut down the truth on all fronts are going to tell us the truth. You think Trump is? Hilarious. Again, they have to give us something, but they always give us something with the purpose of misdirection. That's just what they do. They have to acknowledge what we know to a degree, but then attempt to misdirect us at the same time.
Yeah, and I think we're going to be on we're on a whole new level when it comes to censorship. So please, if leave a thumbs up if you can. It's going to be very helpful. I think in some ways there's behind the scenes censorship, even though it appears that all the information is able to come out. It's difficult. And EMLFJ, I see you. Bob, I saw your text. So it's good. You guys keep, and John and Jen, I see you. Keep, really throwing out thumbs up and everything in the chat. Let that energy accumulate in there. Oh, and yes, I see you, technologically savvy.
Yes, yeah, and thank you guys again. We're going to keep pushing, and we're going to push harder and harder and harder as we get deeper into these times. Nancy Mace is forcing a vote to release every sexual misconduct report on members of Congress. She's doing it because a Republican congressman sent explicit text to a staffer who later died by suicide. He refuses to resign. Congress has a slush fund specifically to pay off harassment victims with taxpayer money. Nobody told you about that. This is from Mario Knopfel. Yeah, it seems like all I see is Thomas Massie and Nancy Mace trying to push against the system from within Congress. Used to have MTG doing that. She left. And, it's just pretty wild to see this. Oh, by the way, the Polish psychic said by the end of this year, you're going to have 25 senators step down. Wait a minute, what's a Polish psychic? I'm trying to remember now. If you haven't seen Tarot by Isabella, she is another one like Krzysztof Jakowski, who are very gifted and are real. And, there's a lot of people out there with good abilities. And we're all kind of getting the same things. So I think it was Tarot by Isabella that saw 25 senators stepping down. But the Polish psychic has been getting these same sorts of things. This is a collapse from within. The collapse is primarily Europe and us, the United States. Again, history. History is written by the victors. When this is all said and done, there's going to be an awful lot of blame placed on the U.S. and on European nations' leaders.
Thank you so much, Elena. Thank you. And you guys keep it up. It feels like, I guess John and Jen weren't able to leave comments, but I do see you now. Keep leaving comments, you guys. This is where we really got to push back. Robbie, I see you too. Finally, thank goodness. And Prince of Sheba, good to see you. Scott's, good to see you too. Yep. Just keep doing the hearts, keep doing the thumbs up, and as long as we have you guys helping us out, we are right here.
Absolutely. Wow. Congress has a slush fund to pay off harassment victims with our tax money. I mean, again, the reality is so much worse than anybody could really have thought. Even me, I think it's like the worst case scenario. Really, is what's playing out as far as how bad and how corrupt the corruption was, how far spread it was. Oh, it's so prevalent. Again, lobbying is bribery. Lobbying is bribery. It shouldn't even exist. It really, really shouldn't exist. But it does. And thank you so much, dear Elena, for your help on being part of this family all these years. U.S. FDA grants full approval to Pfizer's Braftovi combination regimen for first-line metastatic colorectal cancer. I don't know if it's 50% now or what, but there's a lot of people that have zero trust in Big Pharma at this point. Zero. And very little trust in the medical system. And I think that's growing very quickly, very rapidly. People are looking to go and look at like naturopathy and herbalism, maybe traditional Chinese medicine, Ayurveda, all these different alternatives to what has been the mainstream, because they don't trust it at all anymore. And there's good reason, just saying.
We have to look at different ways. People do not trust mainstream any longer. And thank you so much, Timothy. You guys, that really, really helps. And, Mike and I, we do all kinds of different types of healing, alternative healing. And there's certain things that we use, light and oxygen, to help heal our bodies. It's just, it's not going to work the way everyone is used to. These things take time and they work very quietly. Subtle energy is very, very powerful, though, because it's healing at the core. And that's the type of healing that Mike and I do. And that's the products that we support do that. But they're just, people aren't used to it. But we're going to have to get used to it because what's out there right now in the mainstream is not working. And it's proving itself to be disastrous.
Oh my God. I mean, beyond what people thought would be possible. New financial disclosures reveal Attorney General, this was a little bit, this is from January, talking about Pam Bondi, the fact that she represented Pfizer. She represented Pfizer, and in fact, she earned over $1,067,000 last year as a lobbyist consultant for Ballard Partners. When you look at this was actually, that should be 2 years ago. That's what she earned back in 2024. Over $1 million for this firm that did work for Pfizer, Ballard Partners. So she represented 6 Ballard Partners clients over the previous 2 years. Alden Torch Financial, Florida Sheriff's Association, Florida Sheriff's Risk Management Fund, Safety Net DC, Major County Sheriffs of America, and iGas USA, Inc. And Public Citizen's recent report, Conflicted Justice, identified 30 clients she has represented as a federal lobbyist for Ballard Partners, including some with significant conflicts and contracts with the Department of Justice. So, again, here she is. She's the Attorney General. And we just saw, what was it, a protected substance? Talking about glyphosate, it has national defense implications, and we have to have. Are you serious? And when you look to everything that has been done through Bayer, through Monsanto, through all these other companies, it's a tangled web. Scott Gottlieb, right? He worked for Pfizer. Don't you think that's just kind of crazy that somebody could run the FDA or, go from the FDA to a big company like Pfizer and those other big ones, and then go jump over, to the CDC. It just seems like it's just doesn't make any logical sense. But the ties, they're right there. Lobbyists of Big Pharma and positions like Susie Wiles. Again, there's those connection to Ballard Partners, connections to Pfizer. This is all one tangled web. It's just such a tangled web. These people, obviously, they've taken large sums of money from these, businesses, these industries. Are they going to go and then literally penalize them or shut them down? That just doesn't seem to make good logical sense.
Yeah. I mean, what is going to happen, exactly what's going to happen. We see you, KK. Thank you so much, everyone, for leaving your comments, doing the thumbs up, and helping us continue to get this information out there so that people know. What we have here is, I sense this huge second wave of people who are going through an awakening right now, and it could very well be traumatic, and they could very well be watching this podcast for the very first time, and some of this stuff is unbelievable. So I feel we need to be compassionate, supportive, understanding, answer the questions where we can. But a lot of this stuff, there's no answers. There is no answer other than the fact that we have been fleeced for years, and we're still continuing to hold this up every time we buy something and we pay taxes. Guess where it's going? It's just going to keep up this whole corrupt system, and it's very, very complicated. And, this is the reason why we don't have a lot of support on big media, on mass media. We don't get a lot of recognition, but we are going to tell it like it is. We're going to tell the truth.
Yeah, it's just all being exposed, and Sin Havoc, you'll like what comes later here, as he was talking about Argentina. Bill Gates apologizes to his foundation, said he had affairs with women that Epstein discovered. So he admitted to that. Epstein didn't discover women, he kidnapped, and worse. Again, don't let the media rehab these people. We don't need apologies. No. And, they're not what they appear to be, is basically what I would say. There is a term which means like husk or shell. It's a Hebrew term, clip-off. And, that's really what we have here. There's empty shells being inhabited by very demonic beings, and it's not, these people are not what they appear to be. One of Harvard's most prominent figures is out. Former Harvard president Larry Summers is resigning all faculty appointments amid his Epstein ties. The dominoes are falling. Yeah, they are. But they're just resigning. They're not really getting punished. They have to leave positions. These people all have 401ks and investments in the millions. It's inconvenient to them, but it's not like what would happen to the average person if they had to leave their job.
No, with this thing with Gil Bates, I mean, it was so gross. He had there was a picture of him with this very young girl, and she was like holding in on herself, and he had his slimy arm around her, and you could just feel the tension in that picture. Her face was blacked out, thank goodness, but it was just gross. It is gross what these very old men are doing, and how do they find, how
It's just money.
I'm just a little shocked myself, and I feel so sorry for the girls involved.
Well, we know how it is. People from maybe families that are deeply indebted or, just had a real tough go. When you offer them large sums of money, they see it as a ticket to a new life if they could just grin and bear something for a little bit. It's the sad truth. Harvard, think about this. Harvard and Yale, as we've said, these Ivy Leagues, that's where they recruit so many people from. Absolutely. It's not hard to figure out, how all this works. How about this? Can you guys figure this out? Cryptocurrency system using body activity data. Literally. We know, that they want to merge the technology with us. And, sensors will read if you're telling the truth, if you're lying. And, what if, you get stopped by a policeman for something, and maybe it wasn't speeding, maybe it wasn't anything serious, maybe it was a comment you made on Facebook, and then you say something, and it reads your body data and reads that you're nervous, and it says, "Oop, he's lying," and the next thing you know, you got $50 automatically came out, or $200, or whatever the penalty is, like a fine or a ticket. Or you won't be able to buy or sell, or you get the picture, right? Automatically, because everything's hooked up to cryptos. Well, some sort of currency. Central bank digital currency would be the worst, obviously. But who's really controlling any of the cryptos? Do you trust anybody that's controlling any cryptos? Again, Bitcoin's down to like 63,000. It could still come back, because again, the dollar's going through a big decline. But overall, I think trust in the system is permanently gone. I really do. I don't think it's coming back.
I think moving forward, people are going to find ways. They're going to just work harder to work outside the system. But this is something that I channeled a while back, something that they were going to be doing. And I didn't know that there was all this information out there about it now. But I really sense that the crypto was just one step closer to like actually exchanging energies in our body, on our body. It's disgusting.
Yeah. Absolutely, it is. Absolutely. And this is still what they want to do. It's, implant technology in you. When you look at these people, everything stays in the family, right? It stays in the family. You recognize her, obviously. What's the red back here? It looks kind of, I don't know. There's something dark there. Almost see like an eye in the painting looking at you. Did you know about Ghislaine Maxwell's sisters? Literally, her sisters are literally in control of all the FBI computer systems, including national security and the e-files. Yeah, Christine Maxwell co-founded Chiliad, providing data mining software to FBI's counterterrorism warehouse post 9/11. Enabling searches across agencies like CIA and NSA. Isabel Maxwell led Israeli firms Comtouch and iCognito, with board roles at Perez Center for Peace and Israel Venture Network. Isabel Maxwell is employed by the WEF as a technology pioneer. And there's more than that, guys. There's more than that. Absolutely, it's so interconnected. How about the Wojcicki sisters? 23andMe, founding that, and being married to the guy that founded Google, i.e., Google, Alphabet, YouTube. It's always been that way. It's a family affair. This is still the royals. This is still royalty. All these people now that you see, in these other roles that are not necessarily kings, queens, and dukes, they're still part of that whole thing. These might be your dukes and duchesses and things along those lines. Still lords and ladies, even though I think they're very, very dark, slimy, and demonic. Yet it's in the family. It's in the family. So here you go. If created software that runs all the FBI, CIA, and DEA intelligence databases, oh, sure. Yeah, you could trust them to persecute their own employees, basically. It's kind of been outed. Oh, man, talk about embarrassing.
It's a mess, and we do have an Elantra sighting. So much love, my dear. Thank you very, very much. Prince of Sheba says, how do you, what did he say? How do you work outside the system? I believe it's going to have to start at a very local level. If you have farmers in your area, if you have a very, very small mom and pop, yes, that's how you start working outside of the system. It's just going to have to be very, very local. I know where we're at. People are very tied to the desire to be paid with cash and pay with cash, and they're very fixed on that, and I do like that. There was one time I saw on social media, there was a thing that said, oh, if you come and pay your ticket, you can only pay with a card. And instantly about 300 people piped up and said, oh, no, I'm coming tomorrow and you're going to take my cash. People are very stern about that here. So we have that very firm on a local level. But then after that, you need to make relationships, and you need to build trust, and you need to have people that have your back, and people that, that kind of know you and you know them. So that's how you start working outside the system. It's going to have to be very, very, very grassroots.
Yeah, in case you didn't know, here you have Ann Wojcicki over here and Susan over here, right? And this is Sergey Brin. Stanley right there is the dad there. So, it's meet the self-made, right? Money.com. Susan and Ann Wojcicki are superstar sisters, right? They run YouTube and 23andMe, and they have a collective net worth of over $1 billion. One has passed on, by the way. Oh, these are self-made? No, they're handed it because of who they are, and that's just the truth. It's who they are. Again, co-founded and serves as CEO of 23andMe Genetic Testing. Yeah, because again, the non-human entities are watching all the DNA lineages for ones that they can utilize for themselves. America's richest self-made women, number 42 and 44 respectively. They're not self-made. They were born into the family. We understand the way this works. And, it's just what it is. So, yeah, and who they marry, they've married very powerful people. Again, it's just part of the system. It's part of the system. But Susan, I believe, is the one that passed. And her son had died, too, sort of mysteriously. Yeah, again, they'll do whatever they have to do to cover up as much as they possibly can. But yeah, the system, the big reveal, is the system is ultimately not reporting to Homo sapiens. It's not reporting to people like you and me. No, again, here you go. Christine and her twin sister Isabel, despite them having held senior roles at the Israeli intelligence front company that facilitated their father's greatest act of espionage on Israel's behalf, the sale of bugged Promise software to the U.S. national laboratories at the heart of the country's nuclear weapons systems. Wait a minute. That looks like, no, that's Christine. Maybe it's supposed to be Christian? Yeah, this is, again, what we have. It's pretty close. How about this? Are Javier Milei and Benjamin Netanyahu related? The real last name of both men is Milikowski. Yeah. Well, yeah. I can see there's some genetic resemblances in there. Yeah, absolutely. Who was Norberto Horatio Milikowski? He was the the father of Javier Gerardo Milei, Argentine economist, politician, educator, known as an entrepreneur in the transportation sector and involved with different firms, which had tax issues, by the way. So he established another company and dedicated to cattle fattening, and then became owner of Buena Junta S.A., which had farmland in Buenos Aires, and was involved in real estate as well. but he had a complicated and toxic relationship with his son, Javier Milei, who dropped the end of his name. He just simply dropped the Kofsky part off and changed his name. Why? Well, because he had traumatic experiences with his dad and he wanted to kind of cut the ties. Yeah. And we see they have the same last name. Well, that's just a crazy coincidence, isn't it? Just a coincidence. Yeah. Sure.
It's pretty wild. And yeah, I guess cash transactions can be private, and it's something around here. People just prefer that. It's like the personality of the land. It's not that you can't pay with a card. It's just people are holding tight to their tangible assets because they know the bigger picture, things that we're talking about. They understand. And it is very difficult. Like the older folks around here, they really like their cash. And I know, because they don't want the control to go elsewhere. So yeah, it's just the personality of the area. And if you have to do a card, somebody will figure it out, but they'd rather not. So it's just personality, I guess.
Yeah, when you look at a young photo of Javier there and look at his nose, it looks a lot alike, doesn't it?
It does.
I gotta wonder, are they first cousins? Are they even brothers? What do you have a vibe on it?
They're just icky at this point. Just all icky.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And what's this? Argentinian president to build the third temple so the Messiah can rule the world. Well, you go back to Nathan Milikowski, Zionist, political activist, a rabbi, and a writer. Yeah, so his son was Benzion, whose grandson is now prime minister over in the Middle East there. Yeah, this is how it really is. I mean, this is really what's going on. Whew, it's a tangled web. Have you ever seen this? There is some serious resemblance between Angela Merkel and you know who, pictured here with a little girl that looks a lot like Angela Merkel. Yeah.
Yeah, looky there. How about that? That's very, very, very interesting. And I like that, John, asking if anyone knows where to get sage. I'm trying I really want to grow my own sage this year. I'm hoping for that. But there's a plethora of desert areas. Even if you have a friend in the desert, they could send you some beautiful, beautiful sage.
Yeah, so I would definitely pick it up wherever I could, just so I wasn't out of it, because you want to be able to sage daily. Honestly, we do multiple times every day. So yeah, that you got to look at the dark side of this. Not that there's any light sides. There's a lot of interest in genetic manipulation and a lot of interest in cloning. And when you think back to everything we learned about the experiments of Mengele and the NAZIs back in WW2, the fact that they had saucers, the flying bell is a real thing. The working with grays and these Palladian Nordic-looking aliens, again, a very real thing. Eugenics and just... this is a huge interest. This ties in to the abduction phenomenon. We've talked about this before. It all goes together. Everything you're witnessing here goes perfectly along with, uncovering the truth behind Tartaria, which goes along with the fall of Atlantis, and literally the people that left Mars when Mars was trashed, they came here. They came and settled here. The refugees from Mars came to Earth, and they intermingled with us, and they brought their ways from Mars here. And what we've been covering is talking about that tradition. Again, when you hear about people wandering in the desert for many years, I take it to be an allegory of literally origins, back to the red planet where it all kind of looks like desert now.
Yeah, they haven't done a very good job there. So, I just a lot of energy here that is still from a foreign place and a foreign energy. So the DNA of the human shell becomes very, very important so that they can control it.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much, Ron. I hope that you're doing well. Appreciate your support and being part of the family for all these years too. Um, Sin Havoc says Mars was also known as Maldek. Boys from Brazil, yeah, you're so right, Scott. The Boys from Brazil, that was all about cloning, right? So yeah, there's so much more to this. It's all coming together. Yeah, there are a lot of AI generated ones, but there's also feeling into the energy. Feel into the energy, sense the truth. This is where we have to develop our own abilities. Cindy and I work on it all the time. We do meditation, we do mantras every single day, and often more than one time. And we use other tools too to develop our intuition, because you can see right through it. It just becomes like just as obvious as the nose on certain people's face.
I mean, you learn a lot from your animals because they're so good at studying intuition and body language. And over time, you start on enough things and you learn on things that are inconsequential, and you practice on things that are inconsequential. And slowly but surely, you build your confidence to the point where you trust bigger and bigger and bigger decisions. But it's very important to have your own type of divination and then develop that divination and trust that divination. It's okay to go outside and look for answers, but man, oh man, you really want to have your own grounding. That's where you can get taken advantage of. You really can. People saying, oh, you have a curse, give me 5,000 and I'll break it. You don't want to be in a position like that. You want to stand in your own power, have your own understanding, and make sure you have someone you can trust, and go to those ones that you trust. That's important.
I've yet to find a conspiracy that is really just a theory. I mean, they're all being proved to be true. This is the bottom line. Wait, what's the likelihood that three little girls hanging together, I don't know, 10, 12 years old or what have you, would all end up being in very, very powerful, influential positions, literally running 3 different countries? Yeah, you wouldn't think it's too likely unless, everything that you see is not legit and it's just simply all a charade, which is really what we were learning. It's all been a charade. It's all been sales. And, this is all just to keep humans occupied so that we don't understand that we ourselves are being farmed. We are truly being farmed, and we've been used as an energy resource.
Yeah. The energy that we carry is very, very precious to them. It has a lot of food, a lot of value in it. And Jen, if you made that mistake, don't be down on yourself. I mean, people can be really sneaky, and it's not nice and it's not fair, because you were going at something with a good heart and something bad happened, and I'm sorry. That's awful, but you're a very beautiful person, and never forget that. This world is full of venomous beings that are ready to feed on innocence.
It is. And you can't hide intentions. You really can't. I mean, you can't hide the energy. And that's the reality. Again, when we look to what was really happening with all this with Nazi Germany, they were just carrying out experiments really for those that are controlling from the shadows. Why are they controlling from the shadows? Because if you convince people that they are actually in charge, that they're part of something, and that they'll actually get contributions from the proceeds, the profits, they're going to work harder. Slaves with no potential for, freedom, they're only going to do what they have to do, and they're not going to throw their hearts into it.
No, they're going to follow orders, follow directions, and to some extent follow their instincts, because they're kind of bred the way they're bred for a reason. It gives them certain abilities. It gives them the ability to reach different contacts from different planets. That DNA is, to them, it's golden. It's most important.
Yeah. So, this is Dr. Sam Youssef, and he's got a lot of degrees and stuff past his name there. Ariane de Rothschild, director of the Edmond de Rothschild Bank, transferred $25 million to Jeffrey E. into a bank account named Ball, literally. No legal proceedings nor police investigation has been initiated against her. Now, he says Epstein was merely an intermediary claiming to represent the Red Shields. No. And from what we understand, the E-Man would actually be higher than the Rothschilds, and actually be one of the rare people that literally does go face to face with the real beings that run things from the shadows.
His brain, it was pretty much, his human parts of him were pretty much melted and just almost non-existent. So that gave him the ability with that frequency to talk to these other beings. I mean, I'm getting more and more information is rolling in on it. I'm preparing more information, but it's just that. It's just the soul is slowly but surely taken over, and it's a process, and that at a certain point they are able to face these other beings. But us, as far as our human minds, hearts, and souls, no, we couldn't just stand up and face like a Draco or face a reptilian, not without some type of frequency contrast, and it would probably make us very, very sick.
Yeah, again, what the E-Man was reporting to was more like what you're seeing here. In fact, I showed on our Patreon exclusive just what it really looked like. Again, when you look back to the Sumerian tales, which are based in fact, but you have to realize too, the Sumerian stories that we get about Enlil, Enki, Marduk, Ninhursag, Ningishira, etc., it's still from the point of view of the victors, meaning, this is really being told from their perspective. Again, if you want to go farther back, by the way, they found, what was it? Some sort of writing. It must have been on a stone from 38,000 years ago in Germany, which blows away. We had thought that the Sumerian cuneiform writing was perhaps the oldest on the planet. That's what you would be told by most scholars. We do understand there is, you have Sanskrit, and then there was a Proto-Sanskrit. There was something that was before that, something that preceded the Indo-Aryan language. But this that they found in Germany dates to 38,000 years ago. So there you're going way back to before the takeover of these Anunnaki beings.
Well, that kind of throws another wrench in history, and science books are going to have to be rewritten yet again. So what do you believe? If you go to school, they've probably rewritten that science book you had to study 50 different times by now. And we cannot forget that, and just think that the mainstream is supplying us with our mainstream religion and mainstream everything else. We need to keep that in mind. They kind of make up the rules as they go along because it suits them right now.
Yeah, discovery in Germany, 38 to 43,000 year old proto-writing system. Dots, lines, cross hatches carved into ivory and bone. Again, we've had civilizations here, much more advanced than what we have now, and I think most of you guys know that now and understand that. What the system does is they want to say that our history started when they came and took over. That's really what they're doing. And in fact, when you look to all the Native American legends, they only go back to right after the Younger Dryas period extinction event. And that's the reseeding of the world. If you look to Genesis, you'll see there's two creations, because the old world was wiped away and then the new one was reborn from the wreckage of the old. This is exactly the truth. We were interacting with very advanced beings from elsewhere, and also that did live here with us for many generations, all the time. Again, only in the Kali Yuga do we find ourselves kept in the dark and not understanding for sure that there's other intelligent beings out there in other worlds, also in our oceans, inside the earth itself, and of other dimensions. And that some of these beings have the ability to alter their frequency and appear solid in our reality.
Yeah, I guess Wayne was saying drain the oceans and you'll find our stories. Absolutely. How much of the ocean have we been able to officially take a look at and really get in there and just dig around and dig into the sand and around the corners and to the very, very depths of the places? And I really believe there's a lot of entries and exits in our oceans. I think that's the missing piece. I think that's where so many of these beings are existing, is in the oceans, and they come in and out, and it's a perfect hiding place.
Yeah. So when we're talking about Satan and the biblical Satan, really what we're talking about is the Draco, and there are beings that look pretty similar to this. And this is really what they summon. Have you heard about those stories about when the elites get together and they do their little ceremonies and they summon the entity to come forth? This is really the type of thing that they truly are summoning.
It's really yucky. I mean, it's just so yucky, and it's very real. I think that's the problem with it, is these entities are actually in existence, and they can, in certain ways, influence the way we think if we allow them to. So if you're, not taking in good things and you're allowing doors to be opened, you're susceptible to some of these influences. And I think that's just important to always remember. Just in case you catch yourself doing something that just doesn't seem like you, if you say something or do something and it's just not you, always keep that in the back of your mind. So you want to be able to make sure that your aura is always clear, and just doing your best, bringing in the best food that you can find, and just being the best person you can be so you can catch these energies if they do try to pass through you.
We are glad you're here, Bare-Brained Adventures. Much love as always. So what's really going on? We'll do a deeper live again going in the future, as long as we're able to, and going into more detail. But really what you have going on is there are certain genetic lineages that make good hosts. Just that simple. There are certain ones that make good hosts, and there are certain ones that don't make good hosts at all. And this is the reality. They're cultivating the ones that make good hosts, because then they can utilize them. They could actually come into the body with the human, and then over time, the human gets pushed aside, and it's just the entity. It really is a form of possession.
Yeah, it's kind of yucky. You don't want to spend too much time actually studying it and going over it. But you do want to know what to look for. That's really important. The way these entities work, they come through back doors. They come through certain ways. They wait for your frequency to reach a certain spot, and they go in. They wait for you to have a fight with a loved one, and then they slip their frequency in, and then they are able to masquerade and treat some people like a puppet. And that's really scary, especially if you're not knowing what could possibly happen. I think it's important at least to understand it to that extent and never feel like you could never be influenced. You always want to kind of have your guard up and really know who you are. Figure out who you are. So when you're not being yourself, you can say, hey, what the heck was that? And then figure out where the leak comes from and seal it.
Absolutely. So right now, Cindy's going to be giving us some dings. I just wanted to show the president of El Salvador. El Salvador was rated the safest country in the Americas at this point in time, which was really a huge turnaround because it wasn't always so safe.
Sorry.
No, it's over here.
Oh, it's over there.
Okay. Hopefully that wasn't playing in the background the whole time. I don't think so because I had it blocked. Okay, guys. El Salvador. He said, we went to their home to arrest them. They were performing satanic rituals. They literally worship Satan. But Satan is basically what we would call a reptilian when you get down to it. Reptilian humanoid being. Crypto Geezer 1111. Thank you so much for your support.
Thank you so much, Crypto Geezer. Thank you.
And now we'll have Cindy give us a ding. And in a world where you could be anything, yes, be kind. It's just second nature to so many people. Most, I think. I do think most. I think, again, it's the small minority that makes life so difficult, and it doesn't have to be that way.
No, it doesn't. So I just want to say a special thanks to you guys, KK, Elena, Timothy, Robbie, Elantra, Ron, Crypto Geezer. You guys really helped today's live. You helped us get the information out there, and we really appreciate that. We appreciate all the thumbs up, the comments, all the Patreon and YouTube memberships. Thank you so much. So with that, let's do some dings. So you know how it goes. Find a happy thought. That's really, really important. And here we go. And thanks again, Crypto Geezer. You guys are awesome. Source bless and namaste.
Loka samasta sukhi no bhavantu. May all beings everywhere be happy and free. And may my words, thoughts, actions, and deeds all contribute to their happiness and their freedom. It's a dark road at the moment, but it will become more light as time goes on. And thank you guys for sharing your light. Source bless and namaste.